Welcome back. Welcome back. My name is Claudia Pascal, and I am a dentist and entrepreneur who is here to talk all about the financial freedom we young Black doctors get to pursue in order to create the fulfilling lives and powerful legacies that we desire. We have a juicy topic that we're going to be talking about today, and that is debt, okay? And to be clear, I'm talking specifically about school loans, the high school loans that many of us have. And I'm not really going to be focusing on any other kind of debt because I think we all pretty much understand that unnecessarily hanging on to debt such as credit cards and other consumer debt is really not helpful to any kind of financial goals that we have. And I do want to take the time to plug in. If you are not following me on Instagram, please go ahead and do so, because a little earlier into this year, I made a post about how this extension that we have on our student loans, where we're accruing 0% interest and don't have to make any payments until May, is a great time to divert that money into any high credit card debts that you may have. So think about that, all right? Strategize. That's what this is all about. And get rid of those high debts. If you don't have to be keeping them around, let them go. But back to our subject of student loans, this is something that I know is an important factor for us and something that tends to be a big source of stress and concern. And I'm hoping that by the end of this episode, you'll be able to have a better peace of mind in terms of how you're going to approach your debt and investing. Before I go on, I want to make a disclaimer that I am not a financial advisor and nothing that I say is meant to be taken as professional advice. I am here simply sharing my personal opinions and experience for entertainment with the hope that it will be a blessing to you in some way. So prior to kicking off our journey, debt is definitely something that I had a concern about for a hot minute, okay? Just to give an understanding of the debt load that me and my husband carry, I thankfully was able to have scholarships during undergrad as well as during dental school. So I actually had a full ride scholarship in dental school that covered my tuition and fees. So the only thing that I was borrowing money for during dental school was my living expenses and things of the sort. That combined with the loans I borrowed for college puts me at about a little under $200,000 in debt. Yes, a big blessing, and I really thank God for it. And my husband, on the other hand, not only had loans while he was in college, but he also took out loans to cover all of his expenses for dental school. And we both went to a private school where the fees were pretty high. So I want to say that around the time that we were strategizing to pursue financial freedom, my husband was already well over $500,000 in debt. And we understood quite well that he was going to be getting more debt when he went into residency if he matched to a program that required medical school, which he did. So as I thought about us planning our strategy to pursue financial freedom, I asked my husband if taking care of our debt first was the better route to go before we tried to get a house and start investing. And after talking about it and thinking about it, we came to the conclusion that delaying our investments wasn't the route we wanted to go. We decided that we would instead make minimal payments to our debt and be aggressive with our investments, because we were confident that if we strategically invested our money, we could ultimately create passive income streams and reach financial freedom with enough money being generated to cover our student loans in the process. So that was us. And that was what we felt comfortable doing. And I know that that is not the case for everyone. You may not be comfortable with the idea of letting more than $500,000 and in our case, close to $1 million worth of debt hover over you for so many years. Like, it's hard sometimes to grasp the idea that, yeah, I'm making money, but I still have this big burden. And if that's something that you're not comfortable with, I want to assure you that it is completely okay to not be comfortable with that. Remember, in this journey, what matters is what's best for you, and what matters is your goals. If you don't like the thought of hanging on to debt when you know you could get rid of it sooner than later, then by all means, I want to encourage you to go ahead and focus on the debt so that you can be able to have that peace of mind. Okay? When we're talking here, we're all about choosing what's best for us and our personal journeys, circumstances, and goals. So if you have a peace of mind, knowing that you are taking care of your debt first, and then when you're done with your debt, you'll go in and aggressively start investing, there is no problem with that. You can still pursue financial freedom on your own terms, according to your timeline, and doing it with the peace of mind is what we want, right? It's what you want. It's what I want for you. I want you to keep in mind that while you are aggressively paying down your student loans, try to still take advantage of other opportunities to make small investments that will be able to serve you in the long run. One of those main sources are your retirement accounts. So you have a job, you have an employer who's providing you a 401k, a 403b, wherever it is you're working. Do your best to maximize your contributions to that account in line, of course, with whatever goals you have established in terms of paying off your debt. So no problem with aggressively paying off your debt first. Just keep in mind that you can still make small strategic investments into accounts such as your retirement accounts, especially those that are coming from your employer, because when you do so, you are now also taking advantage of the money, the free money that they are adding in addition to your amount. So that match is something I highly recommend you take advantage of. At least fight the temptation, to take all your money, all your extra money and put it into loans and say, okay, no, let me take a little bit of extra from that and let me just let the employer take it and automatically put it into that retirement account. At least you guys do that, because it will definitely serve you in the long run. And then the other thing is to just keep gaining knowledge. So even if you're not in the mode where you want to start aggressively investing towards financial freedom, you can still be learning. You can still be learning about the different ways to create passive income so that when you are done paying off your student loan debt, you now already have your game plan in place that you just switch on and you start putting the money there. You don't have to wait until you're done with the debt to now start saying, okay, let me start learning how to invest. That's only going to cause you to lose time that you could have been using to grow your wealth. So that's my spiel for those who want to go the route of aggressively paying off their debt. Now, if you do not feel like you need to focus on your debt more and you're in the place where you want to equally invest, or like my husband and I, aggressively invest even more than you are focusing on debt, I want to remind you of the importance of making sure that the investments that you're making are justified when it comes to the rate of returns. So this is something that may sound like a no-brainer, but sometimes when we just get excited and we see this person invested this way, this person then that, we just have the money and we just want to say, hey, let's just put it there without really calculating if we're going to get a good rate of return on our investment. And that's something that is so crucial. doing the analysis, running the numbers, and making sure that the investment that you're making is going to indeed give you profitable returns in the end. One thing that people often recommend when it comes to determining if you should put extra money towards your debt or towards an investment is looking at interest rates. And I completely agree with this idea of comparing the interest rate of your loan with the rate of return for your investment. So when it comes to the interest rates on our loans, that's definitely one of the reasons why paying them as soon as possible is a benefit, because the longer we take to pay, the more extra money we're paying in addition to the amount we actually borrowed. However, one of the reasons why our student loans are often considered good debt, that it's okay to hang on to a little longer, is because the interest rates are not that high. They're not as high as the consumer debt rates that we get for credit cards, for example. So the average rate on federal student loans right now is around 5%, close to 6%. And looking at the past years, the interest rate on federal loans have not really gone past 8%, right? Private loans sometimes can be on the lower side, but majority of the loans that we have had for our college and doctorate programs have been federal loans. So federal loans typically are not going past that 8%. So I want to give you guys an example of how comparing those rates can help you to decide if and how you should invest your money. So let's just say our federal loan rate is sitting at 8%. And let's say we have an extra $60,000. So we have an extra $60,000 and we're trying to decide, should we put it towards debt to save money on the interest payments? Or should we put it on an investment to start generating more income? If the federal loan interest rate is 8%, that means putting the $60,000 into the loan would save you about $4,700 over a year. Meaning if you let that $60,000 sit for another year, you would have paid about $4,700 in interest fees on that $60,000. If you take that $60,000 and you invest it instead with an 8% rate of return, right? Follow me here. If you take that and you invest it into real estate, so real estate is what I know. And when it comes to real estate investing, one of the things we calculate is for sure the rate of return, right? What's the return on investment? So I put in this amount of cash. How much returns am I going to get on this amount of cash? So if you went into a real estate investment with your $60,000, $60,000 is enough to cover a 20% down payment on a home that's $250,000, and then it'll cover some extra fees and any other extra things of that sort. So $60,000 can get you that property, right? So let's say you get a property with the $60,000 and it's calculated to give you 8% return on your investment. That means that within a year, you would have made about $4,800 by investing that $60,000 into real estate. So you have $60,000. If you put it in towards a loan to save money on interest fees that would have been charged at 8%, you would have saved $4,700 over the course of a year. But if you put that $60,000 into a real estate property that's going to give you 8% return on your investment, you would have made $4,800. Now you might say that's not too big of a difference, but guess what, you guys? 8% is usually not a return of investment that you would settle on for a real estate investment property. The goal when it comes to investing in real estate is usually to have a return of investment of 10% or more, right? So usually 10 to 12% is the ROI that individuals are looking for when they are going to invest in a real estate property. If you were to get 10% of returns on your $60,000 investment in real estate, that would mean you would have made a profit of $6,000 over a year. compared to the $4,700 you would have saved on interest payments. The reason why this is something that is more advantageous when it comes to investing is because not only did you already make now the amount of money you would have paid in the interest fees, but you're going to keep making that money just from that one-time investment of the $60K. And guess what? You have the ability to possibly make more. Remember, we're going to make sure we pay down the debt. It's going to happen eventually. What we're looking at is what's the most strategic move with the time that we have? What is the thing that I can do now that when I do it now is going to serve me more in the long run? And that once again goes back to what's your goals for the long run. So if you're like, hey, that return of investment is not worth it to me, or I don't need it, then yes, go back once again to the original idea of aggressively paying off your loan. But if you're like, hey, I could benefit from making this $6,000 extra minimum a year, and I actually like the idea of knowing that if something happens, I've at least put aside some money that's going to keep working for me, right? And I don't have to stress so much about expenses, including the debt, which for me is what mattered so much when it came to me making my decision. I felt like if I could invest my money and get my money to start working for me, then it's like I'm establishing a sense of security in case something was to happen to cause me to not be able to keep earning the money that I would be depending on to pay off this debt first. So it's almost like for me, I just felt like, let me slow down. Let me just keep going slowly with my debt payments and kind of ramp up with the investments. Then when I get to a point where I want to get to with the investments, then I could go back and go hard with the loan payment, knowing that I at least have money that's already working for me through my investments. That was my rationale, and that's what made me feel comfortable with choosing to make an investment and start pursuing financial freedom aggressively, even though me and my husband had close to $1 million worth of debt. And I want to throw it out there, you guys, just to be transparent. When we were calculating the rate of return for our house that we bought to Hack, you will not believe what the rate of return was when we calculated. Y'all ready for this? The rate of return was 131%. Mic drop. Yeah. When I say my mind was blown, I was like, are you serious? 131% compared to what interest rate on the debt? Let's go. That is how I felt. But once again, that's what I felt comfortable with. I felt comfortable carrying the debt load while pursuing the investment. The point is that we do not need to let our debt, our high student loans, compromise our ability to reach our financial freedom goals. Don't let it make you think that you cannot do it. Don't let it make you think that you should not do it. Whatever it is that is your goal, you aim for it and you pursue it. And just keep in mind that knowing just taking time to look at all the angles, looking at the numbers, making those comparisons, and all those calculations that I told you about, you can find all those resources online. The decisions we make have implications either way we go. It's important to remember that this is your journey. It's all about your goals, your circumstances, where you want to be, when you want to get there, and what you're working with to get there. I hope that this is something that helped answer some of your questions, helped you to understand why me and my husband decided to make the move that we did. And if you decide that paying off your debt first and aggressively is what's best for you, definitely do it. Just keep in mind that there are still small ways you can invest, such as through your retirement accounts provided by your employer, that I highly recommend you take advantage of and strategize and maximize. And then keep making sure that you're gaining the knowledge that you need so that while you're paying off that debt, you can strategically be creating your game plan of where you're going to put your money when you're done putting it towards your debt payments. For those of us who say, hey, I want to invest equally or more than the amount of debt repayment that I do, I want to remind you the importance of making sure you carefully calculate those investments before you make them. Make sure your rate of returns are worth delaying those debt repayments, because we don't want to put money into something that we end up losing when it could have better served us by going towards debt and saving us money on all of those interest fees. So calculate those rate of returns, whether you're investing in the stock market, you're investing in real estate, you're investing in a business, startup, starting your own business. Just think about all those things. Run those numbers and make sure they make sense to you and for your goals, so that you can be able to keep investing and knowing that your debt is and will be taken care of, because it is possible. And once again, there's no reason why we need to let our debt hold us back or compromise our journey to pursuing financial freedom and creating the fulfilling lives and powerful legacies that we desire, not just for ourselves, but for our loved ones, our communities, and so much more for generations to come. So if you appreciated this video, please go ahead and let me know. Give me a thumbs up, give me some comments, talk to me on social media, and tell me, what are your thoughts? What are you doing? Are you going the route of paying off your debt first, or are you doing the combination of investing as much as you're paying off debt, or are you like us and just trying to minimize those debt payments and aggressively invest? Tell me what you're doing. Tell me your thoughts. And as always, thank you for tuning in. Take care, and I will see you in the next one.